Hi, friends. Before we get into the show, we wanted to ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to The Breakout. It's quick, it's super easy, and it's a really important way to help people find us and get to hear these inspirational stories. We really appreciate it. Now let's get to the show.
In a sport like swimming, where everything kind of builds towards the Olympics every 4 years, a lot of these up and downs kind of happen more in the preparation for that. I always wanted to put myself in those uncomfortable situations throughout the year so that when I got to the end of the season or the end of that 4-year stretch, I felt prepared and confident no matter what was thrown my way.
Ryan Murphy is a 9-time Olympic medalist swimmer. That's right, he's got 9 Olympic medals and a couple of world records, but it hasn't all been podium glory. At this summer's Paris Games, Ryan missed qualifying for the men's 100-meter backstroke by 1/10 of a second, and that was after he had just won silver in the 200-meter.
It's these extraordinary swings between triumph and disappointment that Ryan is so brilliant at managing. Through it all, he's learned to roll with the lows just as easily as he celebrates the highs. There are few endeavors that can match the intense 24/7, 365-day-per-year commitment and stress of being an Olympian. And in this episode, we get lessons that anyone can use.
Yep, today, we get an Olympic icon's valuable wisdom on performing under pressure, the power of a team, dealing with the unknowns, and yes, managing the expectations. Welcome to The Breakout, a show about smashing through life's little boxes and forging your own path. I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich.
And I'm Kelly Gunther. Carrie and I are people and change experts, best friends, and business partners. We've spent more than 25 years helping employees and leaders change. With love and a lot of laughs, we're here to empower you to live life on your terms. Our methods may seem a bit unconventional, but trust us, they will change your life.
Let's be real for a second. We know change can sometimes be scary. Heck, it even scares us. But staying the same can be even scarier. On The Breakout, we prove that you can escape expectations. And best of all, we show you how. We're so excited you're here, Ryan. And our show is really about managing change and breaking expectations. And so we know even with the highest achievers like yourself, everyone has something that they struggle with and they've had to break through. So with your career in mind, what have you had to break out of?
It's a good question. I think pre-race nerves. When I was younger, I used to get incredibly nervous before every single race, where I couldn't eat breakfast in the morning and I'd actually vomit before every single race. It was kind of gross. But that's something that I feel like I grew out of over time. And now I feel like I kind of like high pressure moments. So I turned it into a strength.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, I don't love that you vomited every morning or, before every race, right? That's not as much fun. I think so many of us, because we perceive that you work hard, but it comes naturally to you. And so to hear that you still have to break out of something and you have to figure out how to manage through that is helpful for us who don't have as many medals as you do, Ryan. So I appreciate that. And speaking of medals and your amazing career, so you were just in Paris, you medaled again, but you always knew you wanted to be an Olympian very early. Can you tell us a little bit about growing up and having this goal in your head?
Absolutely. So I feel like I've always been just an incredibly competitive person, no matter what I'm doing. So I'd say when I was growing up, I didn't know that I wanted to actually pursue swimming, but I knew if I was going to pursue swimming, I wanted to be the absolute best. And being the absolute best in swimming means that you're an Olympian. And luckily I had a talent for swimming and was able to work really hard and had great people around me to help me accomplish that goal.
Yeah. What about kind of in you, Ryan, do you think that propelled you to this? Because there's lots of kids who I'm sure say, I would love to be a good swimmer, but then it's but there's a video game I'd rather play. So what about you got you to this point?
I wouldn't say that the Olympic goal was something I was thinking about every day. I think it's just kind of each and every day, just kind of taking steps forward. I've always been a hard worker. I think that honestly comes naturally as being the youngest sibling. So my goal growing up was to be able to play on my brother's sports teams. He's 2.5 years older than me. He was 2 years above me in school. So that's kind of a huge challenge. And so I felt like I had to work really hard in order to try to be able to do that. And I think that was kind of like the foundation of my competitiveness at the youngest age.
Yeah. I love that you're breaking through the stereotype of the youngest Ryan who gets everything handed to them and is the baby of the family. And you don't have to do anything. Look at you. You're like, yeah, I'm the baby of the family and I have all the medals. Thank you.
My siblings they would contest that. They'd say I definitely get treated like the baby. But as the youngest, I don't feel like I got any special treatment.
I think the next podcast will have your siblings on. Let's go back to the Olympics, and the road to your first Olympics wasn't always a smooth one. So talk maybe about some of the ups and downs before you got to the 2016 Olympic team.
Sure. I think in a sport like swimming, where everything kind of builds towards the Olympics every 4 years, a lot of these up and downs kind of happen more in the preparation for that. So I'd say like once I got to the Olympics, I felt like I was prepared for pretty much every situation. So that was great. But the process of becoming prepared for those situations is not always smooth. Like there's definitely days where I was having bad practices, managing a lot between academics and athletics, and really just had to kind of work through it. But I'm a big believer, like you're going to improve if you challenge yourself. So like I always wanted to put myself in those uncomfortable situations throughout the year so that when I got to the end of the season or the end of that 4-year stretch, I felt prepared and confident no matter what was thrown my way.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you're so high performing. And so where did some of those expectations come from? Like yourself, was there external kind of expectations on you to perform? Because it can feel like pressure, especially as an athlete, and especially you have to perform on the Olympics every 4 years. How do you manage through that?
The way I've been able to manage expectations, I've always had really good teammates. So like I've never felt alone in having external expectations placed upon me because there are other people in my group that I felt like were in similar positions. So there's comfort when you have a group. So I think that was a really crucial thing. And then I think it's also framing, to be like totally frank, like most external expectations come from media. And like at the end of the day, like the people who are making predictions or writing articles, their interactions with me is so few that they don't see what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Like they're not on the pool deck that often. They don't see what I'm eating for dinner, what time I'm going to bed, all these things that add up to a performance. And so framing things in the way of that has been super helpful. And it allows me to just keep the focus on what I really like to do, which is kind of strategy and planning in a season, competing and trying to be prepared as possible.
We'll get back to the interview after this quick break.
On the Breakout, Carrie and I celebrate big changes and small shifts. Only about 10% of us are really self-aware, but 90% of us think we are. Without self-awareness, change is tough. And if you don't know what box you're in, you can't break out of it. That's where we come in.
We are coaches and consultants that help you dig into change. We've spent our lives breaking through expectations, and we've devoted our careers to showing people how to do the same. We're here to help you demolish the story you've built around yourself to reveal the true you. Then the real fun begins.
And by fun, we mean helping you figure out your why and taking action to forge a fresh path. Connect with us at abroadugroup.com.
You mentioned something about the teammates, and I've heard in your other interviews too, you talk about with such passion how important teammates are and being around people who you like and respect. And how do you feel that being around people like that has helped you in your career?
I think it's been super helpful. I've always wanted to train alongside the best athletes in the country and the world. NCAA swimming is definitely international now. So like a lot of really good, talented athletes from around the world are coming in and training with us as well. And I think it's just a daily measuring stick. Like it really shows you like where you stack up. I've never viewed that as a bad thing, to feel like you have to push yourself to your absolute limit every day. I think that allows you to keep that hunger. Like there's absolutely zero complacency when you're training next to really good athletes.
Yeah.
It's been huge just to keep me like mentally in it every day, pushing the envelope. And then when I get to the end of the season and I go to an Olympic final, I've swam in 6 individual Olympic finals. So at 5 out of the 6, I've had a training partner in the final with me.
Nice.
Like that's pretty absurd.
Yeah.
So it's great that like I've been able to have great people around me. And I think it's also awesome that like the personalities of the group and the culture of the team that I've been training with, like one person in the group isn't like a vacuum. Like there's space for multiple people to have success. And I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And even when we talk to people who aren't, athletes, the importance of having this board of directors, this team around you, this support group. You can do anything if you have this amazing support group. Doing it by yourself, even though you're kind of alone in the pool and swimming, you're still not. It's still team based. And that's such a beautiful lesson that you can help people learn as well. So you have such success, but you did have some disappointment in Paris. And so how do you, someone who has just the internal, like you said, I don't want to be complacent, I want to push myself. How do you manage through when you don't hit the goal that you wanted to, like you did in Paris?
It's very hard. Like I have incredibly high expectations for myself.
Yeah.
The place where I feel like I didn't get what I wanted was in the 200 back in Paris. And I think ultimately, like, I went through semifinals and I took a risk. Like I was trying to manage energy so that I felt like really fresh if I made the final, and then I ultimately missed it by 1/10 of a second. So that was really hard for me to work through. I get to say for like a day or a day and a half, I was just really down about it because I felt like my potential, what I had to offer at that meet was so much better than what I showed in the semifinal.
Yeah.
Like I ultimately just said to myself, like, look, I have 2 relays coming up, and like, why would I throw my chance of being good on those relays for Team USA just because I'm bummed about how another race went? That's 2 medal opportunities for myself and Team USA. So like, I knew I had to really just be on point, and I could deal with the emotions of that disappointment a little bit later. And that's absolutely how I did it. Like in a 9-day meet, I think it's okay to kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna push this disappointment into a corner, and then I'll revisit it right after the meet and like process everything. I think I'm in a really good spot with that now.
Yeah.
Like my default as a person is very like future thinking. My natural outlook is like positive and optimistic about the future. I knew that like over time I'd get to that place again. So I kind of just have like confidence in like who I am day to day. And that's what helped me deal with that disappointment.
I just think that's such a great lesson for, again, anyone, because we all hit these disappointments throughout the day and throughout the week, month, whatever. And I think that self-awareness, Ryan, is so beautiful of, I can't deal with it now because I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my team down, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to process it, because if I don't, it could really affect you later in ways that you couldn't imagine next time in the pool. And for you to do that, I think is such an important lesson for just anyone, especially when you have high expectations on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely not like an easy time. Like I felt like awkward going to the pool deck and like interacting with people. And I kind of felt like once I get through that like initial like awkward conversation with people and like they kind of realize I'm ready to move on. Like at the end of the day, like I'm the person that's going to care the most about that result. And I had to remind myself of that too. It's like, it is a 9-day meet. Like there are many, many people swimming every single day, and like they're kind of focused in on their own deal. So like ultimately, like they care about me as a person and making sure that like I'm in a good spot. And it kind of starts and ends there. Like they'd love to see me go medal, but like it really doesn't have a huge impact on their overall happiness.
Right. I think that's so, I was just thinking, right, when you said it, we do as humans make such monsters out of these issues sometimes, and no one else really cares. Like you said, like it was yours to care about, and no one else looked and said, I'm not going to be Brian's brother anymore because of this. And so we make the monsters, and other people don't even care about it. I mean, yeah, you have some media people, Ryan, but other than that, most people, they still love you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say like my brother too, in that like right after that race, like he's like sending me texts, like hyping me up about the upcoming races and everything. So like that's pretty helpful. And like him being like a data analytics person and kind of like a statistics mind, like he's like sending me all these statistics to like tell me that I'm really good. Like yeah, so pretty funny little like side note there.
Oh my God. I love it. You have your hype man.
Absolutely.
That's so beautiful. I kind of want to be adopted into the Murphy family at this point, Ryan. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like it.
when you think about seeing the Olympics themselves, there's someone who announces them, they come out to a raving applause. So there's all of that external that's going on. And then they have this very committed, present, intense practice that they assume. So it's staying mentally focused. And I think that this is where the power of having a team and people supporting you and having a tribe or a village or whatever you call it, board of directors, is so powerful, because it's being able to have those people around you who know you enough to know how to boost you up and get you back on track.
Yeah. The amount of discipline you have to have and just keep pushing through. You lose something by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
And for that not to eat you up a little bit. And so what I really appreciated was the self-awareness around, I have to deal with it eventually. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't just say, I'll just move right past the disappointment and never deal with it. He knew, I just can't deal with it right now. That's an important lesson, is like, I can't maybe deal with it right now, but I have to get to it. And it's not in 10 years, I'm going to get to it in a weird way. Mm-hmm. I'm going to deal with it when I get home, and it's in 9 days, and I'm going to process it. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to manage through it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important lesson for all of us, even though we're not Olympians. We can all push through when we're feeling like crap and we're feeling nervous, but you can still do what you need to do. You said sometimes that the Olympics are uncomfortable and it's not like the ideal circumstances for the conditions, at least, aren't ideal for the ultimate performance. How do you kind of manage through that too?
Yeah, I mean, I compare the Olympics to be like the first week of college, like your first week, freshman year of college, where it's like all the people are like super excited. They just want to go and like meet new people, like make new friends. But then you're also staying in dorms. That's an adjustment. And you're eating in a dining hall. So there is a ton of logistics going on with the Olympics, and it's never a perfect scenario to perform. And we never go in there expecting that it's going to be a perfect scenario to perform. Everyone's in the same situation. Like, there's going to be some things where if you let it bother you, it will bother you, but ultimately everyone's in the same boat. So you kind of just have to like roll with the punches and keep a positive attitude.
Yeah, I feel like I have talked to other athletes who they're very precise on their food, on the sleep. Like, you have to be so precise. I eat this, I go to bed. And then, like you said, you go to the Olympic Village and the bed is made of, I saw the beds in Paris, like made of cardboard, and they have this certain mattress, and you're now eating French food and it's not the exact food that you're used to. And so how do you, in the biggest competition of your life, then how do you manage with a good attitude? You have this very rigid structure, and then all of a sudden it gets upended and you still have to really perform. What do you learn from that? And what lessons do you have for us mortals?
I kind of think through like thing by thing and like what is in my control. So like with the beds, like I'll go and buy a mattress pad before we get there. So it's at least like the softest mattress I can get. So you kind of just like, you do what you can do. And then the rest of it is like you make do. Like when we go into the dining hall, and it's like, I think just in Europe in general, there's just not as many like protein options. And that's fine. So it's like, maybe I'm eating like, the equivalent of like canned tuna a little bit more than I'd like. But like, that's the situation. You just gotta get in the protein somehow and you make do.
Yeah. I love it. Kelly, I was thinking of Kelly is not as flexible. She's always said this. And so I think that lesson, Kelly, of it's what can you do that's in your control, right? Go buy a mattress topper. I love that flexibility, because that's a lesson that all of us can learn from Ryan.
Absolutely. And I think a couple of the key themes I've heard from you in your conversation, Ryan, is knowing yourself, so having self-awareness, and then also the capacity to be resilient and to bounce back from adversity, whether it's something that happens in the pool or something that might have happened outside of the pool that you didn't anticipate. So speak to the self-awareness piece a little bit about knowing who you are and how you bring that to whatever situation you find yourself in.
Yeah, I mean, I think self-awareness, I think that's always kind of like a work in progress. I think confidence is definitely a roller coaster. It's a fluid thing. So the self-awareness piece is you kind of constantly have to be like evaluating it. But then understanding, like, I've always had the mindset, like in the near term, there are not many things that are in your control. Over the long term, there's plenty of things in your control. I kind of have that mentality. So like on the day to day, like, like sometimes you wake up and there's like a thunderstorm. So you got to just leave the house earlier. I think there's parts of your life that prepare you for a moment, like something as small as just like a weather change. And then there's other pieces. Yeah, you do have to be a little bit resilient and just be like disciplined as in terms of like, this is what my plan is going to be. This is how I warm up the day before a race, like whether I'm disappointed from the night before or not, like just having a little bit of discipline in how I'm approaching things.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the self-awareness is really important. When you know yourself well enough to know what are the elements that I know I'm going to need in order to get myself to a positive mindset, a place where I can do my best work, that makes a huge difference for you.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful on letting that crap go. Like, I can't control it. So how do I just not let it occupy so much space in my brain? And I think that's what we all do, right? It is so easy to be like, I can't believe they didn't do this, or I can't believe it's not at this level. Well, it's not. What can you control about it? So yeah, the bed sucks. Well, you know what I can do? I can go do something else about it. But the amount of time that we waste on trying to fix something that we can't fix, that's beyond our control, it's a fool's errand. So I love that he said that, because if anyone deserves to be extra sassy on my sleep routine's upset, my food routine is upended, it is an athlete. It is someone who their body is their tool. That's why that attitude, because if you have a bad attitude, he could lose by a second, because it could get into his head, occupy that space, and then he couldn't perform. So I love that kind of water off a duck's back attitude, because you got to be focused on your shit and not someone else's.
Ryan, let's talk a little bit about outside the pool and some of the amazing work that you're doing, one of which is around water safety. Why is this an initiative that you've decided to focus on? Why is this so passionate for you?
First and foremost, like swimming has given me so many positive experiences in my life. I've been able to achieve really awesome things as a result of knowing how to swim. And that has made me feel a lot more confident in all aspects of my life. And then also simply learning to swim, it just opens up so many positive experiences for you. Like if you're comfortable going to the beach, like I think that's an awesome time. If you're comfortable going to the river, like that's an awesome time. I also grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, there's water everywhere. So many of the activities revolve around water. I think that's had a huge impact on my life. And then like kind of zooming out, and these are statistics that I've learned more in recent years, but drowning is the leading cause of unintentional death in children aged 1 to 4. And so drowning is an epidemic around the world. And we know the cure. Simply enrolling your child into formalized swim lessons reduces the risk of drowning by 88%. So it's really crucial to enroll your child in swim lessons so that they have these basic water safety skills, because you want to be as prepared as possible.
What a great mission. And thank you for sharing the stats. I think it's pretty incredible that ROI that you get from being able to take a swim lesson and being enrolled in swim lessons that reduces by 88% the impact of drowning. So amazing claim to come through from that. One of the other passion projects that you have is the Goldfish Swim School. So tell us a little bit about what that is, why that's so important for you.
Yeah, so Goldfish Swim School, we're teaching children starting as early as 4 months old all the way up to 12 years old, the basic water safety skills. So in terms of my passion about water safety, Goldfish is a company that has the ability to really make a huge impact on this epidemic. They have over 150 franchises across the US now. So that comes out to over 200,000 kids every week that are learning to swim in Goldfish Swim School locations. And so being able to partner with them and really broaden the impact that I'm able to make, it has been incredible. And they're just A, quality people. It's quality people all the way around. Obviously it's a mission-based business. And so you almost expect it, but it's not a guarantee. And so they have an incredible curriculum. Whenever I go around to locations, the kids are having a great time Parents look like they're having a good time too, but the kids are definitely having a good time learning to swim. And that's all I want. I want people to have the positive experiences that I've had around the water.
Mm-hmm. And it's a fantastic form of exercise too. I mean, it's not just for those who are competitors like yourself. It's something that you can really get a tremendous amount of exercise from. And just being comfortable and acquainted with the water does increase your confidence level as a human, I think. So you've proven that especially. And you're really hands-on. You mentioned it is a franchise organization. So you have opened your own Goldfish Swim Schools. On these visits, what's been some surprising things you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, what I'm always most impressed by is like children learn things so quickly. Like I can't tell you how many times I've gone around to locations and, like initially when the kids are getting in the water, like there's a couple that are crying. They're like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to get in the water. And then like 15 minutes later, they're putting their face in the water and blowing bubbles for the first time. And then like 30 minutes later, they're jumping off the little platforms, like into their parents' arms. It's like a complete 180 in the course of 30 minutes. That to me is the most impactful thing, is like, it can be really daunting and scary to learn something new, but there is an ability to learn it. And as long as you're placed into the right environment, I think it's a really positive experience.
Well, I love your humility too, as you speak about it. It's not about you as Ryan Murphy. It's about seeing others be successful with something, and just having fun and enjoying and learning something new is a fantastic thing to see. So what are your plans now that Paris is behind you? You've got the Goldfish Swim School. Are there other things that you have your eyes set for? What does the future Ryan Murphy look like?
Yeah, so I mean, the last couple of weeks after Paris have been just kind of like rest and relaxation, like kind of decompressed from that. I mean, I really call it like a year and a half of just being like so dialed in on a goal. So now I'm setting a new routine because I'm not going to swim for a couple months here. So I'm just setting a new routine, like enjoying life a little bit. I'm definitely doing things to stay active. Like I enjoy working out. I like doing active things. So on the physical side, I'm doing that. And then in order to keep the brain going, the Goldfish in St. John's, Florida, that is taking a good amount of mental energy as well. And so I'm putting mental energy towards that. I'll be going back to Florida a lot. And I'm just really excited for that to open on October 15th, get children in the door and make an impact to a community that's given me so much.
Mm. Well, the Olympics in 2028 are in Los Angeles. And so would love to be able to see you there. Though if you have different plans or it doesn't work out, that's okay too, because obviously what you're doing it goes beyond that of an Olympic race. And as intense as they are, I think the work that you're doing even now is incredibly intense and giving back to others. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. One last question for you, Ryan. You have 1 minute with someone who is stuck. They want to break out, think about doing something differently. What would you tell that person?
Yeah, I'd say really it's step by step, day by day. And I think you can pull motivation from so many different people and so many different aspects of your life and push it in a direction that you're passionate about. So, I mean, that's less than a minute, but I think that's really the key things is draw inspiration from the people around you. You're not going to be motivated every single day. Sometimes you just have to be like strictly disciplined. And I think that's okay. Because I think ultimately, like over time, as you start to see a little bit of progress towards your goal, that's really going to motivate you and get you fired up. So draw inspiration from the people around you, take it day by day, step by step.
I love the short and sweet and succinct. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And Ryan, you're in a business of seconds. So I've seen those races. I watched the swimming. It's incredible to see just how fast people are moving in that water. So I'm not surprised that you kept it a shorter response. That's not a problem for us. But really, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and being vulnerable and candid, and for all the work that you're doing for people across this country and the world in helping educate, inspire, and motivate them to learn how to swim.
I was just going to add, thank you, Ryan, for overcoming and pushing through your jitters that you used to have and the vomiting. And so thank you for doing that, because look at the impact you're making, but look at the impact you're making in the world, right? Not only personally have you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, but saving kids' lives. Like, this isn't like, you're not just like, oh, I'm also selling sandals. You know what I mean? Like, you're actually saving kids' lives. I really appreciate that. And I know tons of parents do as well. Millions soon.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a great conversation.
Oh, thanks so much, Ryan. That was 9-time Olympic medalist Ryan Murphy, and this is The Breakout.
Kelly and I are in the business of breaking free, being brave, and living boldly. We're here to inspire you to be the badass you are meant to be. Coaching and consulting is kind of our thing, and we're really good at it. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Breakout so you never miss a new episode. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And please leave us a review. Reviews help more people find the show, connect with us, and live a more authentic life. I'm Kelly Gunther.
And I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich. See you next time.